Welcome to our game review show thing. That last week was a music review. It'll kind of be flip-flopping depending on, what's happening
Yeah,
in
we
the
really
world.
don't know what we want to do.
I mean, sometimes we just want to talk about our favorite album. Sometimes we talk about the new games, like Kingdom Come Deliverance. Tell me, Parker, do you know anything about this game whatsoever?
I don't. I know the words, but I don't know the game.
The words are English, and they're put together to make a title. Like something from Perd Hapley would say from Parks and Rec. Well, Kingdom Come Deliverance is an RPG set in 14th, 15th century Bohemia and the Holy Roman Empire. It's an interesting take on the RPG series in that...
I already love it. I'm sorry. I
It's
already
okay.
love it.
That kept me on the first time I heard of it. Why this is different than most RPGs that take place in, medieval times or whatever is that there is no magic. It is a game based and grounded in realism, especially with research into how everything was made, built, how people lived their lives, the areas, the locations. They're all based off of real places and real people. Like the
Is it historical? Like, is it based off real historical events?
Yes, it's based off of real historical events with King Wenceslas the Fourth coming in after
Charles
the Fourth to rule Bohemia, being kidnapped by King Sigismund of Luxembourg. Thank you. Coming in and essentially raising the countryside in search for more money and rebellion against the crown, I guess. Yeah, no, it's grounded in realism, and they have a very extensive codex within the game. But you know how a lot of games, they'll have a codex, like you fought this enemy, you learned about it, and you can have like a little lore. But this has pages upon pages upon pages. It just covers
I'm sold.
any question you might have. It even talks about like the different methods of greeting nobility. Like you have someone who is of equal class and then someone who's slightly upper, and then people that are like elites, and then how women always were greeted as like to a higher standard or higher position than they were because they were women. While treated horribly, were also respected and exonerated.
I've always thought that was irony in the Middle Ages.
Huge
Like,
irony.
you highly respected women, but you treated them
like garbage.
Yeah. I always thought that was weird.
They had really no say, but they are, more powerful and awesome. It was kickstarted, which that's what turned me on to it. And I think the first thing that I saw was a trailer that showed for pickpocketing a dude going up behind a guy, taking out a knife and cutting off the purse, and that was essentially pickpocketing. So that level...
So highly realism.
Yeah, it's not as realistic as that now after release.
Okay.
But I also haven't gotten necessarily to that part, is actually this picture right here.
So do you create your character, or do you play like a historical character?
You play Henry, who is the son of a blacksmith in a town called Skalitz. Yeah, no, it's a set character, set story, and I'll tell you, the story is intense. It starts off pretty calm, and then shit hits the fan pretty kind of predictably, but it's done really well. The cutscenes are really well rendered. I mean, it's a gorgeous game. The people kind of look weird, but it's a slight bit of uncanny valley, as well as it's a video game, so they have to keep some sort of stylization.
Yeah.
But you can see from these screenshots, it tries to stay as realistic as possible with super high-res textures and everything. Yeah. It's also kind of interesting, I found, because, again, I played 6 or something hours of it. Most games nowadays kind of give you like 15 to 30 minutes of like contextual tutorialization or story, something like you play through a beginning thing that introduces you to the bad guy, the enemies are fighting, and there'll be like some traumatic event, like in Skyrim, the dragons come and they destroy everything, or even beginning of a Halo, you're in the ship, shit hits the fan, then there's enemies to fight, that kind of stuff. We just kind of like chewed up and spat out into the world. This one, it was a solid like 3 hours of story, not necessarily just like cutscene after cutscene, but you weren't really, at least not that I noticed, I didn't really try to, but like at least for the first 2 hours or so, you kind of can't go anywhere within the world. It tells you where to go, and when you get to a certain point, there's a cutscene, and then it kind of puts you in that spot, which I found very interesting and honestly kind of refreshing, because I was kind of tired of
open world.
No, it's open world.
It is open world?
It is open world. I was tired of like a lack of direction almost.
But no, I agree with you that point as far as like video games go. I mean, those like Breath of the Wild, stuff like that, where you're pretty much free to do whatever you want. The story's there if you want it, but if you don't want it, you can do what you want. Those games are fine. I love those games. I love Breath of the Wild. But I'm with you. Sometimes I just want someone to tell me, please go here.
Yeah. I mean, it opens up completely after a while, but there's a period of time where it's almost a linear single player game, save for the fact that you can go around a quest multiple different ways. Like just earlier today when I was playing, I was stuck in a castle and I had to find a way out of the castle because someone told me to stay there. I talked to the knight there and I was like, hey, I need to do this. Like I need to go bury my parents. And he was like, no. Like, I failed the speech. Things like, no, you're an idiot. He told you to stay, so you're gonna stay. But I sweet talked the guard, and he gave me a hint to do something. But then I had to figure out how to go about doing that. Like, I had to put on a full suit of armor, but I didn't have a lockpick, and I had 1 gold to my name. So I had to go around and look for ways to make money or things that I could steal and sell so that I could make money in order to essentially steal the armor and sneak out of the castle. But there's definitely ways that you could have bribed the guard. You could have tried to fight him. You could have tried to exert your position. Like there's certain ways you can go about things. Like I'm going for kind of like a silver tongue devil thing at the moment where I'm trying to up my speech skill. But you can also try to use your position, like exert rank. Exert your power. And by doing that, you'd have to like wear something nicer, be cleaner, because back in those days, that meant everything. You're not going to have a nobleman who's dressed in loincloth and is dirty shit. Not. No. So it's interesting in that aspect that it opens up. It doesn't just act like it opens up those quest lines like some games do. They give you the illusion of it opening up. It actually does open up. I mean, the goal isn't the same, the ending, but it gives you an interesting amount of leeway as to how you can go about something. I like that where it lets you decide how you want to complete an objective. Yeah. Again, kind of like Breath of the Wild, where there's a level or a dungeon and there's about 1 million different ways that you can achieve your goal. Okay. I get that style. Yeah. No, it's really cool. I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm excited to see where it goes. I also really enjoy the combat system. It's very slow. It's very methodical. I described it to my friends as a game that doesn't really reward carelessness. You have like a 5-pronged star when you lock onto an enemy, and you can choose where you want to attack. And so you'll be fighting a guy who's holding a sword like that. So he's essentially, his stance is on that lower one so that you can try to attack from either up or something around that he might not predict or not be able to block immediately. Right. And even if he does, you can follow it up randomly with a strike at any other point. It's an interesting combo system. It's, again, very slow, and I like that. Okay. Is it complete? Like, are you playing the full game? Yeah, it's a full release. Okay. It was. Yeah, this is one of those games that I heard of and I saw like the trailer for. I was like, that sounds fucking awesome. I want it now. Just and like No Man's Sky. Yeah. But it's one of those games that every now and then, like a year would go by, and it would be like, oh yeah, there was that. What was that game? Kingdom Come. Yeah. And I would look it up and I'd try to see where they were in development, and I never thought I would be able to see it released, honestly. I mean, I saw the progress they were making on it was pretty cool. Back to Kingdom Come. I was very surprised and excited to hear that it actually was coming out and playing it. I think, how long has it been out? It came out 2 days ago. Oh, so not very long at all. No, it straight up just came out. I think it was the 13th. So it might have just been yesterday or the 12th, something like that. I don't know. I'll say I didn't just jump into it. 13th, yeah. So yesterday. There's nudity? Probably. Strong sexual content? Probably. That's realism. Mm-hmm. I don't buy as many games as you do, but I always make sure I watch. Not many people buy as many games as I do. I'm an easy sell. But I usually watch like a streamer play something before I judge if I'm going to get it. I was watching Carnage play it. He's a good guy if you want to watch like a full playthrough, an intense playthrough of a game, not just flying through it. But no, I watched him play it, and he's at some pretty what people would call boring parts. Like he was just walking around testing the mechanics of the game, but I found it fascinating as all hell. I don't know, the aesthetic in the quest that he was doing, trying to perfect lock picking, finding ways that he could sneak in and distract the dog that was on the property. I don't know, that kind of stuff. Watching that go down, I was like, all right, I feel like I would easily get my money's worth out of this game.
And have you gotten your money's worth out of this game?
So far, I'd say so.
Okay.
Like, again, I haven't played too much of it, but
it's a full price game, correct?
Yeah,
60?
It's full priced. But so far, I would definitely say so. I haven't played too much. I can tell from what I have played and the potential behind it that I'm enjoying it. It's cool, and I can't wait to see some of the mods that come out of it. I mean, pretty cool. So yeah, some of the voiceovers aren't fantastic.
Okay.
One of the first voices, Sir Divish, I was not a fan of. He's like an American English speaker, and everyone else so far has been like British, Irish, or Scottish or something like that. So all of a sudden hearing him speak, it was really immersion breaking. I mean, granted, it might have just been
they have
British.
people from all over.
Yeah,
they have people from all over.
So that aside, it took me out of it a little bit, and some of the facial animations, like the mouths, don't match up and everything, and there's there's definitely some bugs here and there, but for a first game from like a new studio, as far as I know, it's a pretty impressive title. This is I think their first real release, so I'd say for that it's extremely impressive, really well done. I was always impressed with the amount of research that they put into it. Watch like the dev logs behind it. You learn an interesting amount about like how much work and just how much time was dedicated to getting this game to be as period accurate as possible without losing entertainment value that you'd have in a video game.
I love that.
Yeah, I would recommend it personally.
Because the Middle Ages are the shit.
They are. They're also shit. They were the shit, and they were also shit. Absolute garbage.
Unless you're rich.
Yeah. No, but one thing that kind of made me mad, people were like, this is just a boring Skyrim, and never in this game's marketing campaign whatsoever has it been described to be anything but what it is. It was never like, this is Skyrim, this is Oblivion. No, they've always been like, this is a grounded in realism or 15th century sandbox RPG. Like, you're not going to be fighting dragons. You're not going to be using magic. You're going to be fighting people with a slow, methodical combat system and a story spanning the political climate at the time. That's what it is. The people in Twitch chat, whatever, just don't watch it. If it's easy as that, don't watch it, don't buy it.
Play Skyrim.
Exactly. Yeah, then just play Skyrim, all the shit out of it, whatever. And then I also wanted to talk about this other game, Slasher's Keep. This game is cool as fuck. Have you played much of procedural dungeon crawlers at all?
I mean, I know of them. I know what they are. I wouldn't say I've played a shit ton of them.
We played a lot of Binding of Isaac, didn't we?
I did, yes.
Yeah. It's kind of in that vein to where it's a procedurally generated dungeon crawler, but it's a first-person melee game, which I think is really cool and has one of the most interesting aesthetics I have probably seen in a game in a minute.
Oh, it looks like Wind Waker?
Yeah, it's cel-shaded.
Yeah.
It's a cel-shaded game, but there's also a lot of, like how Doom had the 2D sprites of the weapons and the characters and whatnot?
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah. What I think is really cool, though, is everything has degrees of animation. Like it'll have the front on view, the 45-degree angle, and then the full on side view. And he did that. This is one guy that made this, did that for everything. And
one guy made this?
One guy made this game.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
I'm not that good at life.
No, I mean, I've tried to make games like this, and they've fallen far short. Damien Schloeder, I think. It's a great picture.
He looks like he gets laid.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to, though. This is fantastic.
This is better than sex.
Yeah.
It's a really fun game. I haven't beaten it or gotten really into the meat of it. I've gotten to floor 6 or 4.
So it is beatable?
Yeah.
Does it just keep going?
No, there's an end game. You have 10 floors of a dungeon, and you have to fight your way back up out of the dungeon in which they've imprisoned you. And there's 10 levels. And there's a really cool melee system. If you ever played Chivalry,
yes.
They're, like how you used to, if you move the mouse to the right, you'll swing to the right and left and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's got a very similar system to that. It works the same for blocking. So if you see an enemy coming at you this way, you can put up your sword and block it like that, and it will parry. It's pretty nifty. You can also attack people with your inventory bag.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, you start out with, you just have an inventory bag, and that's your basic melee. It has a cooldown because it has a good bit of knockback to it. But you hit a button, you can just smack people with the things you have on your back. Yeah, I'm wanting to play a lot more of it because I love the aesthetic of it. I'm a big roguelike person. I absolutely love the working really hard to do something, dying and losing all progress and starting all the way over. That sounds really masochistic, but I don't know. I really enjoy the challenge and the threat, the constant threat of almost losing everything you've worked for. Because there is a non-permadeath version that you can play. It has an option at the beginning, but permadeath. Permadeath.
I probably would never do permadeath.
I haven't done anything but permadeath yet. That explains why I haven't gotten that far, because there are save points within the game. They're hard to find, few and far between, but they exist. But yeah, so if you're interested in like dungeon crawling roguelikes, this is a cool one. It has an interesting first-person melee take that also is kind of tongue-in-cheek from the aesthetic of it. You can tell it's not nitty and gritty. There's naked mole rat people, and some of the posters they have up on the walls are of like pin-up orc girls. So there'll be like a green-skinned orc girl like covering up her scantily clad.
I like games that don't take themselves too seriously.
It doesn't take itself seriously at all. It has just a whole lot of fun to it.
You know what the characters kind of remind me of is Archer.
Yeah.
They kind of have that aesthetic to it. Archer.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I was watching the trailers. I just couldn't figure out what the aesthetic was and how it was working, but then I played it. Like, I fucking love this. This is fantastic. It's not exactly, anything new. It's a dungeon crawling roguelike game, but it does some fun stuff with the aesthetic and then just the formula that is proceduralized roguelike dungeon crawlers that I enjoy. There's a lot of good replay value. And you can be an Amazonian woman.
Who doesn't want to be that?
Exactly. Like, be a badass.
Wonder Woman.
Be sure to take a look in the description at those links there for you. Click them if you want.
Yep.
We'd love it if you did. We'd also love it if you liked and subscribed to the channel. Tell your friends if you like it. Shit on us if you don't. That works out
Tell
just
your
fine.
friends who hate us, but still tell them about us.
Exactly. But thanks for watching, and see you next time.